crowd was eating it up. I mean, they were just going crazy over this. Working our way back, what was before this?
Before that was Cena and Rusev.
Yes. To me, I tweeted this. I think the best thing about the match was the entrances, Rusev's in particular. I thought this was just fantastic.
The tank.
Yeah, he came out in a tank, and not a little DX taking over Nitro tank. This was a tank. And, military regalia, the whole thing. It was just fantastic. I mean, but, I wonder if it backfired somewhat because, again, this was the kind of entrance that you put on to have the crowd just, absolutely destroy this guy and throw things at him. And it didn't work. I mean, quite the opposite. He was sort of the babyface in this match. For Cena, he got a very long kind of rah-rah patriotic video, lots of clips of Ronald Reagan speaking.
Nauseating.
Yeah. It was over the top very much. But I thought for the kind of story they were telling, it was fine. They had been a little subdued in kind of the patriotic overtones of this storyline at first, certainly heading into Fastlane. They've turned it up in the last few weeks, and they just went kind of full bore, certainly tonight. But again, I don't know that it worked that well because this was a pretty anti-Cena crowd. I thought it hurt the match some because the story they were telling really kind of relied on or depended on the fans being behind Cena, and they weren't. And this also wasn't a great match. I think the Fastlane match was probably a little bit better, which is surprising. Yeah. You think they'd be more motivated to put on a better show here. But Cena wins, escapes the accolade, and hits him with the AA for the win.
Yeah. There were some interesting spots in the match, and again, the entrances made it for what it was. Lana throwing her shoe to try to break up.
She was great.
Yeah, she was funny. She was good. The Cena doing the springboard stunner off the second rope, kind of a lucha type move, which is odd. And it was an okay match. I mean, they worked, a nice tight, snug match where the submissions looked painful and it was pretty intense. But it was by the books and Cena wins. And I mean, you can't have the Russian beat the All-American boy, after the horrible vignette with the patriotism and the bald eagle. Right. And it had to be Cena winning the match and winning the U.S. title, and that's what it was. But it wasn't a great match. And now it looks like they're teasing the breakup between Rusev and Lana, so, we'll see if that actually happens now.
Yeah, the match was Rocky IV, basically. I mean, that was the story that they were telling.
Hey, come on. Rocky IV was much better than that. don't insult Rocky IV.
My favorite movie. Yeah, I was here with my buddy just quoting it throughout the entire match. Distracted somewhat. But again, this match, more than anything, really counted on the fans being behind Cena and against Rusev. And they weren't, and that really hurt it. I thought it somewhat. But you're right. It was the right finish. A year-long build to Rusev's first loss. You wish the fans had reacted better. You wish it had meant more. They're not going to get that moment back. When Cena won the title, it made me wonder if that was a sign that Lesnar would retain. Again, the idea being that Cena could go and defend the U.S. Championship on main event house shows, that kind of thing. But no, and it's interesting. I mean, the champions we're left with now in WWE, very odd. I mean, we've got 3 new singles champions, and this makes for a very different kind of setup than we had certainly going into WrestleMania. Working our way back, what was before this? Was this a Divas?
Divas tag match.
Yeah, just fine. No complaints. They got a lot more time than the women have gotten in past years. I like that, just kind of going full circle, the whole give Divas thing a chance. I like that, at least to some extent, WWE has put their money where their mouth is. It hasn't been, the women aren't headlining Raw or anything like that, but it also hasn't just been kind of a storyline. We're going to pretend to get behind the women. They've given the women some time. This match was given plenty of TV time, storyline build-up. I mean, you felt like there were some stakes here. And they were given, 8-9 minutes probably.
A little under 7.
Okay. For a women's match, that's an eternity at WrestleMania. I mean, when you think of what's passed for women's matches at past WrestleManias in recent years. A 14-woman Divas match that's over in 2 minutes or something like that. This was pretty good. All the women had their working shoes on, and AJ and Paige won it.
Yeah, and there was the real spot in there. It was in the submission, AJ with the Black Widow submission to get the win. But there was a tease that I really liked, and it was kind of it reminded me, and I think it was a bit of a throwback to it. The first time I've ever seen it, I'm sure it's been done before that, but 1988, what was it, the Four Horsemen, Lex Luger and Barry Windham against Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard. And which is odd to think that would be like referenced during a Divas match, but the match was when Barry Windham turned on Lex Luger and joined the Four Horsemen.
Right.
The Horsemen took out Luger, who was in the corner early in the match. Wyndham was getting beaten on. He kept going back to the corner to tag. His partner wasn't there. And J.J. Dillon throughout the whole match kept saying, he's not there for you. He's not there, Barry. I told you he wouldn't be there. And the Bellas were doing that with AJ. When AJ was down and Paige was going for the tag, and Nikki kept saying to her, she's not there. She's not there for you. I thought, oh, this is great. They're going to tease some dissension. We may get a turn out of Paige or AJ. But then they went the other way, and they ended up having kind of the rally, which made it even more unpredictable. So I thought it was fun. I thought it was a good match, and it was good to see him have a little bit more time to deliberate.
Yeah, and even the positioning of the match in recent years, they put on the women's match second to last, and you'd think that'd be prestigious, but it's not intended as prestigious. It's intended as a buffer, kind of bring the fans down before the main event, let them go buy their popcorn, go to their bathroom, that kind of thing. The placement of this, right in the middle of the card, I thought was really good. I thought it was kind of respectful. It meant, this is a match that we intend to give some time to, that's important, that we want to showcase. So, yeah, kudos to WWE for that. For this,
a little buffer spot. It was still a little bit in a buffer spot because it came right after that Skylar Grey Kid Ink concert.
Yes.
So still that thing of like, oh, you went to the bathroom during the musical bit. Well, you're not going to miss anything. The Divas are up next. So it's still in a little bit of that transitional spot, but it wasn't, that death spot right before the main event.
Yeah, and with the Battle Royal and the tag title match moved to the pre-show, really every match on the main card was important. So something has to get that kind of spot, and right. I don't think it's necessarily that disrespectful or anything, because realistically, I mean, this was the least important match on the main show. But still, I thought, given the right time, the right respect, that kind of thing. Before this, we had quite a spectacle with Sting versus Triple H. This was just nuts. I mean, this reminded me of Vince McMahon and Shawn Michaels all those years ago. It began with two pretty wacky entrances. I think kind of the flip side of Rusev and Cena. These were really elaborate, but I thought kind of bordering on goofy. They had, for some reason, a Japanese drum band playing gongs that brought Sting into the ring. I didn't get that at all. And then with Triple H, they did a whole Terminator theme where these robots came out from the stage. I tweeted that I thought Sting would be having flashbacks to Capital Combat 90.
I did the same thing. I wrote RoboCop. It's like,
RoboCop's coming out.
Triple H hangs out with Terminator. Well, Sting's got RoboCop.
And then Triple H comes out with this kind of this exoskeletal metal Terminator suit, and then Arnold Schwarzenegger cuts a promo on the big screen, says it's time to play the game. It was fine. It was fun, but maybe a wee bit too much.
What would have been awesome is at that moment when they revealed Triple H in that exoskeleton, for no reason, you just have Ron Simmons walk out and look at him. Damn. And just walk back. It was so ridiculous.
Yeah, it was kind of ridiculous, and the match was even more ridiculous. Both men worked pretty hard, I thought. I mean, Sting, I really felt, was giving it his all. He looked to be in good shape. No T-shirt. Got himself in pretty good condition, and was working hard out there. Was putting a lot behind those punches and kicks and all that. But then it just got crazy. They had DX come out, Road Dogg, Jesse James, Billy Gunn, and X-Pac to help Triple H, and then to counter that, they had the NWO, Hogan, Hall, and Nash come out to help Sting. And to me, this didn't make any sense at all. I mean, why would, for one thing, and I get it, one is supposed to be more of a work and one more of a shoot, but I thought it hurt that you had Hall, Nash, and Triple H hugging, just a few hours earlier at the Hall of Fame the night before. And even if you put that aside, by the storylines, NWO's whole mission was to destroy WCW. So it made no sense for them to be in Sting's corner. And it just got wackier and wackier. Shawn Michaels gets into the ring, super kick Sting, just nuts. And the finish, Triple H beats Sting. I don't think anybody saw that coming. I don't know. I mean, then they shake hands, kind of make nice afterwards. I didn't get this at all. It was fun. Definitely made it an entertaining spectacle. But how do you not have Sting win? It's baffling to me. To me, more than any other finish, this was the gimme. I mean, you had to have Sting win this match. And you could explain it away till the cows come home. The fact is, by later in the night when Triple H was cutting that promo with The Rock, he had already moved on. Sting was already a total afterthought. And I just thought, wow, what a waste. All those years to get through this match and this crazy overbooked kind of mess. A fun mess, but a mess nonetheless. And then just have Triple H beat him clean.
Well, not clean. Well,
I mean, it was an ODQ match, but it was a pedigree, right? That finished him?
No, it was the sledgehammer.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Whatever the case, his shoulders were down and Triple H beat him, and that was it. And I think Sting's kind of shaking hands with him, sort of an acknowledgement of, yeah, you were the better man tonight. So I don't know. I don't approve of the finish.
Yeah, it was. I don't think we've ever sworn on this podcast, so I'm not going to do that. But it was the drizzling excrement. So
yes.
Let's say that.
What's PWI style for that?
I don't know. I don't know. Stu's not. He's not editing this one. So no. I like Sting. I don't really like Triple H, but he can put on a good match. He's, you got to admire what both of them have done, certainly. And this is a match I was looking forward to because it was unique. We haven't seen it. And I really liked seeing the kind of styles clash where you're seeing Triple H do all of his signature spots and Sting responding with his signature spots. Just the little way he threw back fists and things. And it's just like, wow, it's really cool to see these styles together. And my prediction going into this match on our last podcast and elsewhere is I thought that it was going to be smoke and mirrors because I thought these guys are guys who are not full timers and they're not in their prime, so they're going to try to hide it. And that's what happened. Very quickly into the match, they were outside the ring. Then you had 10 other guys interfere in the match. Now there's a sledgehammer. Now there's a baseball bat. Now there's Shawn Michaels. Now, it was just crap. I mean, that's it. It's I know it was all spectacle, but the match was not a match. It was just a gimmick. It was a gimmick to go back and revisit and rub everyone's face in the fact, hey, WWE won the Monday Night War, and if you want to know more about it, get the network and watch all of our documentaries. It wasn't. It was kind of disrespectful. Not so much to Sting because he got a good payday out of it, I'm sure, but to anyone who expected to see a match and really wanted to buy WrestleMania for this match, and they just kind of crapped all over it.
Yeah, you're right, and you did call it. I mean, you were expecting this kind of mess, and it was that, and it was surprising because, again, I likened it to Vince McMahon versus Shawn Michaels back at WrestleMania 22, but in that case, you had a 60-something-year-old man who wasn't a wrestler. You needed the smoke and mirrors. I didn't think they would need it with these two guys. I mean, they may not have been able to have the kind of match they could have had 20 years ago, but they were both working really hard. I don't think it needed as much distraction as it got. But yeah, this is the kind of thing that you might have hated this, as clearly you did, or you might have loved this. And some casual fans, my brother, who I was watching the show with, loved it. I mean, there's definitely a kind of fan who are just excited to see the NWO come out and DX come out and all that, and Shawn Michaels to hit a super kick. So, certainly a polarizing kind of match. Let's try to move quickly through the last couple matches here. Sure. Randy Orton versus Seth Rollins, really good. I expect it to be really good. They delivered a really fun match in this slot. Super creative finish with Seth Rollins going for the curb stomp and Randy essentially standing up out of a curb stomp, which sent Seth Rollins into the air and hit him with RKO on the way down. I mean, it was the one spot of the night that kind of had my jaw drop. Really great, good, really great match, well executed finish. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that it was a strong match, not a blowaway match, but good, and had a great finish. That spot was terrific, and it really, that's Randy Orton. The whole RKO out of nowhere, how that kind of went viral over last summer and was being shown a lot. This is one of those ideal RKOs for it, where he's taking a curb stomp, manages to jump up and catch him in the air, and terrific spot to end a pretty strong match. Before the main event, I would have said that was the best match of the night.
Yeah,
I don't mean, again, I wouldn't call it a match of the year, but match of the night kind of thing. Although I think it got blown away by the main event.
Yeah, I agree. Before that, we had the Intercontinental 7-way ladder match open the main show. I didn't love this at all. It was just kind of a train wreck. There weren't enough really dazzling spots as much as there were just dangerous looking spots.
Yeah.
So it was one of those matches that just kind of made me a little uncomfortable, especially after having seen so many of these. I mean, if this was WWE's one ladder match of the year, I might have been fine with it. But we're just a couple months away from Money in the Bank. We're just a couple months removed from TLC. And somewhere along the way, I'm sure they'll squeeze in a few more ladder matches. Extreme Rules is in a few weeks. I wouldn't be surprised to see one there. And there is a point where you just kind of get uneasy, uncomfortable. Dean Ambrose took the biggest bump through a ladder that was put up between the ring apron and the guardrail. Looked painful. He didn't come back for the rest of the match. I just didn't love this match. There was nothing particularly memorable about it. And Daniel Bryan wins. Finishes him and Dolph Ziggler at the top of the ladder, headbutting each other, kind of reminiscent of some of the old Nigel McGuinness, Daniel Bryan matches, even though they really weren't connecting. The camera angle tried to capture it in a way that looked like they were, but they weren't. But yeah, Daniel Bryan wins, which was a nice way to start the show. Got the fans going with the S chants and all that, but not a great match. Agreed.
Yeah, there were a few things. I mean, maybe just too many people in the match.
Yeah.
Stardust had his own bedazzled ladder that he brought out, and then it never got used. I mean, it was just kind of overcooked, There's a bunch of ladders that were too small to do anything, that were just in the ring so guys could kind of throw them at each other, which kind of dumb. I really liked Luke Harper in this. I thought he kind of had some great moments as kind of the resident big man who could kind of quarterback a lot of different things. And he did a little Terry Funk homage spot where he put the ladder over his head and kind of spun around and took everybody out that way. So there were some creative and fun little moments in it, but it's dangerous. There was, in fact, when one of the ladders early on broke and went outside the ring, there was a sharp metal rung that was sticking out of it. And luckily they didn't use that again, and nobody got cut with it. But ladders break in strange ways, and somebody could get impaled. I mean, really bad things can happen. Fortunately, nobody did. I don't know the status of Dean Ambrose, but I know that the doctors were right there when he went through that ladder. But yeah, good finish to get the fans chanting yes, but not an overwhelmingly great match.
Yeah. The Andre the Giant Battle Royal was on the pre-show. It was the second match on the pre-show. I enjoyed it quite a bit, a lot more than I thought I would. They did that 10-man Battle Royal on Raw last week that was over like in a minute, and that did nothing to make me want to see this. But this actually went, I don't know if you kept time, but I think 12 minutes or so. Got plenty of time. Some good storylines throughout. They had Mizdow stand up to the Miz and toss him out. They had a fun moment in the beginning of the match where Curtis Axel was doing his Axelmania shtick, and everybody hoisted him up, kind of a crowd surfing deal, and threw him out. And in the finish, it came down to Mizdow and Big Show, and there were a lot of hope spots, a lot of teasing that Mizdow would be able to pull it out, but ultimately Big Show eliminated him. Big Show wins the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Stu Sachs called it a fitting, winner. I thought it was fine, and a good Battle Royal. Kind of too bad it didn't make it to the main show, but really everybody saw it anyway.
Yeah, it's. I think that in a lot of ways, that this match was better put together than the Royal Rumble. It was obviously much shorter, but it was really kind of interesting because you had all the guys in the ring, but they'd all kind of fight towards the back of the ring, and the main storyline that you wanted to see at the time would kind of emerge to the hard cam side, but it allowed you to have some kind of nice little marquee things happen, and then those guys fade into the background, and other guys kind of move through. So I think it was constructed really well, and having the ability to have, say, the New Day all team up on Big Show, and then Big Show counter and throw all three of those guys out. And same thing with Ryback, Big Show and Ryback. And again, the Mizdow stuff. A lot of stories being told, and it was a fun little match.
Yeah, Cesaro
almost looked like he was going to go back to back.
Yeah, he looked really good in this. He did a lot of kind of feats of strength kind of thing. And you're right. For a while, it looked like he might repeat. Speaking of Cesaro, him and Tyson Kidd retain in the first match of the show, in the kickoff show, the Fatal 4-Way Tag Team title match involving the Usos and New Day and El Matadors. They wrote off Jey Uso pretty early on in the match. He's the one with the bad shoulder, so they did a spot outside the ring to kind of explain him not being in the match. So it was pretty much Jimmy on his own during the match. Basically a spot fest. It kind of had an X Division kind of feel to it. Not a lot of long-term selling. It was just kind of spot. Fun, exciting, high octane, the kind of thing that works to get a crowd going at the very beginning of the show. I don't know if it's going to be particularly memorable down the line, but everybody worked really hard. The finish came when Jimmy Uso splashed Big E, came off top, splashed Big E. Cesaro stole the pin and won the match.
Yeah, I thought that a couple of things really stood out for me with this. And like you said, it was a kind of a spot fest, but it was designed to be. It was just kind of like, hey, go out there and fire up the crowd, get them ready, get them active and on their feet, and it totally works, which is great. One thing that really stood out to me was how badly booed New Day is getting.
Terrible.
At one point, Xavier Woods is doing the clap, and the fans started chanting "New Day sucks" along with the clap, so he immediately stopped it. But I think that they've got to do a heel turn with that group right now. I just think that that's kind of dead in the water. It was I
don't even think you do a heel turn. I think you just abandon ship and everybody goes their separate ways.
Yeah.
Anyhow, overall, I do think it was a fun WrestleMania. Again, low expectations. They delivered on the high end of them. I had fun watching it throughout. How about you, Dan?
Great. I enjoyed it. I really did enjoy watching it. And again, going in there with the low expectations. And I think that they put it this way. I'm really excited to watch Raw on Monday.
Yep.
I'm excited to see what the build is for the next pay-per-view. And I wasn't excited coming into this. So WrestleMania, that's supposed to be the culmination of everything that's being built. In my book, it actually kind of kickstarted things and started a bunch of other potential storylines. So yeah. I think it's it not just culminated things, but it was a new beginning. A new day.
Yeah, certainly a lot of fun. And now we start the clock all over again, counting to WrestleMania 32, Dallas, Texas, April of next year. Dan, thanks so much for joining me tonight. Thanks, everybody, for listening, and we will be back next week.
Happy WrestleMania, all.